We're recording. Okay,
Awesome.
so welcome everyone to my very, very first Blab show, the CEO partner. I am very excited. This whole idea came up because I was spent a half a day session with Shannon, kind of going over content and stuff for 2016. And she's like, "Hey, I do a Blab show. You should do a Blab show." And I'm like, I don't know. I have this whole thing around visibility and putting myself out there. So we started a Blab show, and today is our first one. And thank you. So this is great. That means you guys can hear me.
Yeah.
Then,
Awesome.
Shannon, do you want to tell everybody who you are, what you do?
Yeah. So my name's Shannon Hernandez. I'm the founder of The Writing Whisperer. I help business owners with all things content and words and copy to build their businesses. I'm on the road today, so I pulled over. I'm doing this show from my car, and I'm really excited to be a guest on this first launch episode. So thank you for having me.
Yay. I'm so glad for you to be here. So for those of you that don't know who I am, I'm Sanaya Williams, founder of the CEO Partner. Essentially what we do is we help small business owners really streamline, automate, and systematize their business so they get more done in 24 hours using technology and team. And really I put this show together because I wanted to get CEOs like Shannon and really find out how you do your business. How do you do business? And then a big portion to me is you're working so hard, but you have to enjoy kind of what you're doing, right? So I have this whole thing around play, and I want to really figure out how you have business and play at the same time. Because for some people it's hard. I know for me it's hard. So I kind of want to talk to the people that are doing it, and hopefully you guys will all pick up some nuggets and kind of implement them for yourself in your business. So Shannon, tell us about your business. Like, who's on your team? How do you work?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I launched my business just 2.5 February will be 3 years. So I guess I'm coming up on 3 years. Right after launching, within 6 months, I walked away from my 15-year career as a teacher, which was I was making good money. It was $70,000. And I was a little scared to walk away, but I had the growth fast. I could see. Plus, I had faith, which I think is a really big thing. Like, you have to believe in what you're doing. But I put a team in place before I ever launched. So I knew nothing about business. I was an 8th grade teacher. So I knew that I needed help in that area. So I hired a business coach. I hired a virtual assistant. I hired an accountant. I hired a website designer. And I used my money from my career to really, those first 5 or 6 months to fund that. And then when I walked away from my business, I had the entire team in place. Everyone knew what was happening. And I could then go out and work on the part I needed to work on, which was finding clients, building relationships, all those things like that.
Yeah, that's interesting. So for me, when I started my business, I was working full time as well. And it's like we both realized that we couldn't do it ourselves soon on before we were full-time entrepreneurs. So like, what were some of the things that when you hired your first virtual assistant that she did for you?
Yeah. So I didn't know what she could actually do for me because I didn't understand it. So my business coach said, get a piece of paper and for the next 3 days, write down everything that you do that you are doing. And so I did. And I was amazed. Like, the list just kept growing and growing.
It's like this never ending to-do list that doesn't go away.
No. So I did. I wrote down all these things like check email, answer email, schedule appointments, set up websites, set up my emails, email marketing campaigns. I mean, the list just went on and on. And then my business coach said, okay, now you're going to find a virtual assistant. And now you know what to talk about. Which of these things do you not want to do anymore? And that was an eye opener for me because, there are things that I love doing and there are things that I don't want to do anymore.
Exactly. Well, so I know some people think, oh, I'm just starting in business. I can't afford to hire a VA. What I usually say to my clients is really start hiring someone small. So like I started with my VA for 5 hours a week and I think I was paying her $15 an hour. And then because I had a budget and I wanted to make sure I didn't go over that so that if she worked 20 hours, I wanted to be able to pay her. So what I did was when she got to like 3 hours, I kind of said, let me know so I can tell you what to do with those last 2. And if what I need you to do actually takes 10, at least I know that I can pay you for it. So like, those are some of the tips and systems that I put in place to know that when I had team, that they were productive and I could actually afford to pay them, essentially.
Yeah. And I think too, I mean, a lot of people ask me this question because it's like, how did your business grow so fast? Well, I chose to invest in the business.
Yeah.
If you want your business to grow, you've got to invest in the business, right? You can't just plan on doing everything by yourself and having a successful business. If you look at any business out there, there's nobody that does that. They have a team behind them that help. So, you might be a little nicer than I am when you say like, how do you find the money? But you know how I found the money? I quit going out to eat for 4 months and I quit going out to the movies.
You had to change. Yeah.
I had to change. And now I can go out to eat and go to the movies when I want. So it's like 4 months of not doing that versus years now, right? Of having the systems in place so that I have this thriving business.
Exactly. So with the whole having systems in place, what does that look like? Does it look like when you got your VA? I know you created the list, which I think is great. I have everybody do that. Write down what you're doing and then say, I don't like to do that. I don't like to do that. But then also figure out how long it takes you to do them. So I know some of the things you say, writing and putting up the newsletter and all of that. How did you get your VA to actually do it your way?
Okay, so first of all, I do all of my own writing because I'm a content copy person and that's just a key value of my brand. So everything that comes out from me is still from my brand is all my writing. It's happening. I do a lot of writing. I think you got to practice what you preach. So if you talk about, having great content and killer copy, you better be writing that stuff yourself. So we really just, we started from the very beginning together, which I think was key because we had to learn what we liked along the way, what worked for us and what didn't. So we use MailChimp, for example. My VA, Sandy, she built a template. I didn't like the template, so we talked about it, but you always have to start somewhere to know if you're going to like the procedure and the process, and then you can tweak. And I think that's a really key point because a lot of people just don't start because they're scared or they're nervous or they're not sure exactly how that's going to happen or what it's going to look like. But you can't tweak anything until you have something in place to work somewhere.
With. Exactly.
Yeah.
But did you write down the steps for your VA to do it, or did you kind of just say it to her and she wrote it down? Like, how did she know what to do every single time?
Well, I got an experienced VA.
That also helps.
I didn't know how to do any of it. I didn't know MailChimp. I didn't know Hootsuite. I didn't know any of it. And I didn't want to figure it out. My sole
and working full time, you didn't have time to figure it out, right?
No, I didn't have time. And my business started growing so fast that eventually we got the policies and procedures down and we have them in documents. We have the screenshots now. So if anything ever happens, like I can go in and figure it out, or I can get somebody that can help me figure it out. But really, the brand grew really fast and we just figured stuff out along the way and tweaked it. I don't know. Is that right? Is that the right way?
It is perfect because what happens is, processes to me are an evolving document, right? So my whole story is I had my processes in place, then I took time off and my business came crashing down, right? It's this whole story I have about how love broke my business and I was away and clients were unhappy, but my processes weren't updated to run the business I was running to get to multiple six figures. It was still in that process development of getting my business from 0 to 100,000. So I like to say a lot of times the same team, process and systems that got you from 0 to 100 is probably not going to be the same to get you to multiple 6 and multiple 7 or wherever you want to go. So they're always evolving. But like you said, you have to have something in place to even get started to know what works for you and your business and not copy what worked for somebody else in essence.
Right. And, people come to me and they say, well, how do you find a VA? And I just tell them what I did, which was keep a list. And then I work with a wonderful virtual assistant community called Assist You. And my business coach is the founder of that community. And they have a free registry where you can go in and you can click what you need help with and what you don't want to do and what you need help with and what side of the United States you're on, so that the timing is an issue. And it was really good. And so when I went in and I did that, I think I got 4 or 5 matches. Well, actually, I put the person only had to have a Mac and use Pages, and I got 0 matches.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, nobody wants to work with me. I only have 0 matches. And my business coach looked on the back end and she goes, why did you say everyone needs to have Pages on a Mac? I said, because I don't want to convert that shit every time.
All the time, right? That's funny.
But anyway, I had to let those 2 things go. And then I got 5 matches. And then, you just talk to them. And I run my business a lot, and I teach this a lot. Like, you got to be in tune with yourself, and your intuition really is what guides me, at least a lot of the time. And so I picked the virtual assistant who I thought would be awesome for my brand. And the reason I'm doing this from a car today is because we're actually meeting outside of Philadelphia today for the weekend, my virtual assistant and I, and we are going to plan my rebrand and plan the next whole year of my brand over the weekend. So, we've developed that relationship together.
No, that's great. So like a lot of what I'm hearing is, one, be flexible, right?
Yeah.
And second, know exactly what you need that VA to do. And the reason you knew that was because you created that list.
Yeah.
The question I have for you, because service-based business I'm in, you're in a service-based business. So you have, like, you're getting ready to go do planning for your business, but then you also have client work. How do you find time and actually schedule to do both?
Well, yeah, that's good. I follow a block calendar, block scheduling. And, I'm an author. I have another brand at mshannonhernandez.com, and I'm traveling the world and volunteering with nonprofits for my second book. And so you have to have control of your time. And I just wrote a blog post on this yesterday. And the essence is, first you have to be present, and you have to know when you're stressed out and you're at your limit. And if you want to live that way, most people don't, but they are, right? It's like this little robotic life that we live. And then you have to set some standards and boundaries around your time. And what I have found has worked for me is actually block scheduling. And when I say that, I mean 7 to 8 a.m. is yoga in my calendar. 8 to 9 is journaling in my calendar. 9 to 10 is breakfast with my husband in my calendar. Everything is blocked, and it's in colors. And it took me a while to figure that out, but I do a lot of playing. I know you see it on Facebook.
Yes.
And I'm happy. And I wanted to build my business that way, where I could work on client stuff and do like a bang up killer job on their copy and their content. And then I could go off to a musical or drive to Philadelphia for the weekend or whatever it is, but you're right. You have to have that balance there.
Yeah, you do. I mean, for me, I do the time chunking or block calendaring as well. And sometimes I put it in my calendar and sometimes it shifts, but then I get myself back on track one way or another so that I can meet those deadlines and actually get work done. But I know that for a lot of service-based businesses where you actually have to do client work, but then find time to build your own business, it can be a little bit difficult. So what we're saying is plan it. Like, everything has to really be planned in order to be successful.
Yeah. And I think so too. Like, it was a learning process. I started out coaching 3 days a week, and I realized I didn't want that. Like, that was just so much of my time on a phone coaching. And so I developed other pieces of my business. People hire me to ghost blog. People hire me to do the website copy. People hire me to do membership and sales pages. But I also coach people around content. I coach people around writing their book, right? To build their brand. So I had to find that balance. Now I only coach 2 days a month, the first and third Wednesday. Everyone gets 45 minutes slot. I work in Google Docs the rest of the time with them, and talk about a game changer from going to 9 days a month of coaching to 2.
Yeah, that's huge. I mean, then you also figure that out by doing, like you said, you have to do something and then make shifts along the way to figure out what those additional revenue streams could be for you.
Right.
Yeah. So we have one question here that says, what advice do you have for startups who want to start off correctly but are still building a business? So just clarity on that question. Do you mean in terms of hiring team or just getting started in general?
And while we're waiting for that, I can go ahead and answer. So I am in the startup world, tech startup. Okay. I went to Bali in May, and I lived at a tech startup place in Bali called Live It Spaces. And some very successful tech startups have come out of there. But what I have found with startups in general is they run a very lean startup, which I get. Like, we all run a lean startup, you know, but you have to be willing to give up money somewhere to help you grow your startup or grow your business.
Yeah.
And if I could say I have one qualm with business owners, it's they wait too long to get the copy and the content they need, because your words are going to make or break you. Your email campaigns, the content you're putting out, the ebooks you're writing, those things are going to make or break your business in the end. They help you build expertise. They help you build thought leadership.
Your
they help
messaging
you sell,
in general.
Yeah, they help you sell your programs. It's all your brand messaging. Is it consistent? People notice that stuff. And if I could have a magic wand and like wave it around Philadelphia and the whole world where I am, I would say, get the help with the content and the copy straight out of the gate, because the business owners who come to me 3 or 4 or 5 years in and they're like, oh, I've wasted so much time, my messaging isn't down, or, you know, nobody's really listening, I don't even know what I stand for. That could have been done 4 years ago, right? And people could be well on their way.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with you, because I've done some copy work and all of that, but I haven't really nailed it until like we started this year. Like, I feel like going into 2016, I have a real solid plan for the next 4 months in terms of what we're doing. And 2016 for me, I really want to become a better content marketer. So like some things that I decided I'm doing, I listened to an interview from Srinivasan Rao, I think it was. And what changed his world was he started writing just 1,000 words a day. And then that's how he came up with the unmistakable creative. So I'm challenging myself to write 1,000 words a day, just to kind of come up with my own thought leadership, my own messaging and all that. In addition to like, I'm just getting better at content marketing, like blogging and putting out valuable content that adds value.
Right. Right.
So,
and I want to say, just before we go on and you can address the answer here, from SB Thomas, you working with me for those 3 hours. I mean, I got an email from you and you're like, I don't know, 4 days later, you're like, I'm still on such a high from the work we did together. And that made me feel so good, because, and I think it should be said, you and I met 2 or 2.5 years ago. Yeah. And we have kept in contact off and on. And I think people give up. Of course, I see everyone as a prospect. I do. First, I see you as a person, then I see you as a prospect, because if you're a business owner, you need content and you need copy. Now, having said that, I don't push myself on people, because that's my whole brand, is like, people will get to you when they're ready, right? Like, I'm not going to be that pushy, slimy, sleazy salesperson. But develop relationships with the people you're meeting. I mean, most of my clients I've met a year ago, they've watched me grow. They've watched me have fun. They've watched me on social media. They've watched me be crazy. They've watched me publish a book. But really, I've just had fun. And people have seen the brand grow, and they want to be a part of that. And then they call me up and they're like, hey, we met like a year and a half ago. Do you think we can get together and work on content? And that's exactly what happened with you and I.
Yeah, I mean, business is all about building relationships. A lot of my clients come from referrals because of different relationships. Yeah, completely. I agree with that. For SB Thomas, you're referring to developing team and creating duplicatable systems. So where you would get started with that is, like Shannon said, create that list of tasks that you do every day, every week, every month in your business, and then start going task by task and actually writing out the steps to get it done. So say, like Shannon said, for the newsletter, write it out. What system do you do it in? Is it in MailChimp? And this is how you do it. Even create some videos. Like, there's a tool called Jing, Jing, that you can record your screen and actually just record yourself doing that newsletter. So that when you have that first assistant, you have this library of videos or step-by-step processes that assistant can go off and actually get the job done for you. Because there's no point in hiring an assistant for you to then watch over them and kind of make sure they're doing everything right, because they're supposed to help you get time back. Right. So like,
yeah. And can I just interject one thing right here is I had to learn to give up control.
It's huge, because your business is your baby. It's huge. Yeah. I mean, I still have issues giving up control, but I give up enough. I give up a lot, but then there's
Yeah.
certain things like when I'm launching something new, like the whole CEO partner thing, I'm very close to it, and then I
Sure.
give it up.
Well, and that's smart because it's your brand and you want it to be how you want it. Now, it doesn't mean you might flip it up two
Right.
months from now and switch it, which is perfectly fine. But I just have to laugh because in my past life, like 4 years ago, I was major control freak. And now my virtual assistant will email me and I'm like, I don't give a shit what you do with it. Just make a decision and tell me about it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I don't even want to be involved in half the decisions. Just tell me what the outcome is
Yeah.
and figure it out and let me know what happens. And that is such a good feeling to be in that space,
Mm-hmm. It's great.
personally.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with that. So, as we're wrapping up, I want to talk about play. I know you have this amazing life of travel, and I want to hear more about it. I know you're getting ready to head off to India.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I was a teacher and people think teachers get a lot of time off and that is bullshit. We do not get time off
You have the
ever.
whole summer.
Oh yeah, we do. We have the whole summer where we're moving classrooms, going to professional development, taking
My
classes
best
at our
friend's a
own
teacher.
expense. Yeah, I mean, no, we don't have the summers off. And
Mhm.
anyway, the time that we had off is always the most expensive travel time because the
That's
whole
true.
nation has the time off. So,
That's true.
um, when I left teaching, I said, I want to build this business so that I can travel and I can work where I am. Those were the two main things. And I've been in the last year, I've been to Bali, I've been to the Bahamas. I mean, the list, I've been to Berlin, I've been to London. It has been amazing. And wherever I go needs to have Wi-Fi so that I can deliver client work and keep up with some things on the days. But play is so important and being creative is so important. And yeah, I'm getting ready to head off to India for 3 weeks. And I'm really excited about it. I'm a little nervous, but I'm more excited than nervous. And it's just something new. I've never been there. And I think that's part of play and it's part of creativity and it's part of expanding your horizons and really thinking about what your life can be like.
Yeah. And I mean, it's what you work so hard for every day
Yes.
with your
Yeah.
clients, with your business. You grow it so that you can have that playtime. I mean,
Right.
for me, I go between New York and London. And, this year I went to Paris, I went to Italy, all of that, so that I get the chance to play. And like you said, it kind of restores your creativity.
Yeah.
So, I know you're going to India and it has a lot to do with your second book.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I have a book inside of me, but I don't know where to get started. Right. So how's India helping you with this book?
Okay, so the book actually started, the idea for the second book started that I was going to travel around the world and work at small nonprofits that I loved, I fell in love with through research and getting them on the phone and talking to the founders. And that in the process, in exchange, of them letting me come work with them, which is kind of crazy when you think about nonprofits because they usually need volunteers, but what they really are looking for more is money. They need the funding. So anyway, get them on the phone, talk to them. I will come and do service and in return, publish you in my book, talk about you on social media, etc. Because there's so many awesome nonprofits who are very underfunded and they're stretched, right? So part of it was service on the ground to have the content and have the experience and experience cultures and conquer some of my own fears in the process. And then the other part of it was to help these nonprofits get exposure for their businesses and what they're doing. So yes, I'm going to India. I'm living in a leprosy colony and I'm working with teenage girls who the goal is to try and get them to think outside of this stigma society has given them and to get them dreaming again. Mm-hmm. So I'm developing a program called, I should know the name of the program because I got to teach it soon. It's called something about getting rid of the stigma society has given you and learning to dream again. Okay. And I'm really excited. I'm going to live at the Gandhi Ashram, which is going to be awesome. I think it's just going to be a really spiritual experience in so many ways. And I'll be in Gujarat, which is like a place in India, right? Like I don't know if they call it a country India is a country. You know, India is big. India is huge. I was looking at the map and I was like, okay, I'm here and I want to go right down here. And
It's
I
like
want
very
to go.
far.
Yeah, you know, it was 29 hours by car. And I'm like,
Oh, wow.
that's not happening. Not doing that alone on my first trip to India. But yeah, so to answer your question, if you have a book inside of you, first, we should talk about that the next time we meet. Like, that's what I do. But secondly, excuse me, you just have to think about, when I coach people in book writing, I always say, when people have finished your book and closed the cover and it's sitting on the nightstand, what do you want them to remember the most? That's where we start in book coaching.
Wow.
Because that develops the storyline, it develops the structure, it develops everything. And if you can you tell me that? Do you know the answer to that right now?
I feel like I do, but I feel like the messaging can be better. So when people close my book, I want them to realize and know that whatever they want to do, whatever they dream of, is truly possible in business or in life.
Business and life. All right. So you said two important things right there. So one, you want to give them hope and inspiration. And two, you will talk about business and life. Done. We're ready to start outlining. Let's do it.
I think so. I can't, like, I have this term I think I got from one of my clients a year ago. It's like happy business, happy life. It's just really that simple.
Yeah.
But yeah. So, and then you have, like you said, you conquer your fears when you go to India. As entrepreneurs, we have no fears, right? We have this fear of putting stuff out there. Like with this show, I was like, I'm putting myself out there. Will people actually show up?
Yes, they will.
Right? So
and like, they did.
Yeah. So that's one of the things. It's like, I want to conquer that. And yeah, I think I have it. I just need to start just doing things. Like generate all these ideas. I'm going through this thing right now where I generate all these ideas, but I don't see them through to completion. So that's another thing for me for 2016.
Good.
Seeing things through to the end.
Well, you know, I have a good trick for that. So here's what you do. You take two pieces of paper. The one on the left is current projects and you write them down. And then the one on the right is things you want to do. And every time you have a new idea, you write it on the piece of paper on the right. Mine's hanging on a bulletin board. And it's like, this is what I'm working on here. And I'm going to stay focused on these things on the left. And these are all the things I eventually want to do. And it's not that I'm saying no, but I just can't do them until one of these comes off. And when one comes off, you put a new one on. And that way you're completing stuff and still dreaming at the same time.
I like that idea. I'm gonna stick it on the wall back here.
Awesome.
All right. Well, Shannon, I thank you. Thank you. This has been amazing. I'm glad you were able to work it out to get on and get where you need to be safely. Where can people reach you and find out about you after this?
Yeah, I would love for people to connect with me. They can find me at Writing Whisper on Twitter or Facebook, M. Shannon Hernandez. And my website is www.thewritingwhisperer.com.
Yay. Perfect. And for those of you that want to stay connected to me, my digital home is SanayaWilliams.com, SONAYA, and then Sanaya Williams on Twitter and Facebook and everywhere else. So I thank you guys for joining, and I hope you come back when we have our next show.
When is the next show?
The show is going to be weekly, but I know next Friday is Christmas. And then after that, there's New Year's. So I think the first show will definitely be the first Friday in January.
Which would be the 8th, because I will be in India by then.
The 8th. Yeah. So the next show is January 8th, and we're lining up speakers now. Like, I've gotten a couple of requests for some amazing speakers. So if you guys want to get inside somebody's business and you want them to be on the show, you can certainly email us at team@sanayawilliams.com with your recommendations, because I definitely this is a project that's going to be on my completion list for 2016.
Awesome. I'm so proud of you. Congrats on the launch.
Thank you. And thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.